Hello, good morning to everybody. I hope you are doing well today. It's Wednesday, it's the 18th of September if you're watching me live, and hello to you in the future if you know. Today I'm going to be doing some of these necklaces with you, really quite straightforward, and only using one gauge and one length of wire to create this lovely kind of looped effect. I've put one here on the bust for you as well. So we've got three colourways in terms of your chain, your findings and your wire. We've got a lovely kind of rose colour, so I've kind of cherry picked out more of the pinks on this strand. We've got the gold and we've also got it in silver. What I've done is I've picked some very lovely beads, and the reason why I've called it Candice is because they look like candy. They're like little sweets. So there's lots of different colours in the strand that you're getting. It is dyed jade. They are 8mm in terms of your size. But if you want to, you can pick any other gemstone of the same size if you want. We've also got lots of them on the website as well for you to have a little look at. So it's a very straightforward make. I'm really looking forward to doing it with you. And I think they look really pretty. The good thing is about the chain as well, we've got two types of chain. So the silver is slightly different from the chain that's in the rose kind of pink and gold colourway. This is like a Figaro chain, and that means you can kind of make it adjustable as well. So I've put plenty of chain in your kits, but the way I'm wearing this, I've just attached it into one of the larger links, so you can change the size depending on the neckline of what you're wearing and how you want it to sit. So I'm going to say good morning to Anastasia, who was first in this morning. She says, peace and love, Natalie, from Atlanta, Georgia, USA. It's 5 a.m. and it's 66 degrees. Good morning to Rachel as well. She says it's glorious and sunny in Barrow. It's not here, it's overcast and gloomy, but we did have a very pretty moon last night, which is lovely. Camille's asking how I am. I am good, thank you, Camille. How are you? And we've got a really lovely surprise, actually. So yesterday, we've seen it before. We had a little hedgehog in the garden. So I was like, ooh, I wonder if that's been what's been making the rustling sounds. So we got some cat food in hope that it would return, and it did last night. I think it lives under my rhododendron tree in the garden, and he's lovely. So I don't know, name suggestions for my new pet hedgehog. I don't know whether it's a boy, I'm thinking Mr. Prickles. If it's a girl hedgehog, maybe Mrs. Winkle, or maybe Tiggy. I don't know if it's a them, it might be a Tiggy. But yeah, that was cute, made me smile. So yeah, I'll be buying cat food in and things now for her. Good morning to Jan. She says, good morning, Natalie and Bede and family from a sunny Sudbury. Good morning to Elaine. Kathy says it's 64 degrees here in Pelzer, USA. Am I pronouncing that right? Pelzer. Never heard of there before. Thank you so much for joining me, Kathy, and good morning to Debbie as well. So I'm going to take you over to the website now so you can have a little look at the kits that we've put together to make this necklace. But of course, if you want to change the gemstones, you can choose a different one. There's lots of lovely 8mm rounds on the website. But I really like these because they're lovely. They're a nice size, and there are lots of lovely colours in there because they're dyed. Good morning to Kim. I hope you're okay. Camille's saying Spiky. Should name the hedgehog Spiky. Yeah, I mean, I'm not coming up with anything original. I won't have him in the house, of course. I'm saying it to him now, so maybe Mrs. Winkle's not not the name for it. Good morning, Judith. I hope you're well. Hi, Carol. Okay, so I'm heading over to totallybeads.co.uk, which is where we have our projects for you. Head into the video tutorial category. You can scroll in to learn to make jewellery and video tutorials as well, and that will bring you to our main page where you can see all the different things that we've been making. Today is the Candice Jade necklace. So if we have a little look in here, you can see how pretty they are. You can space these out as much as you want. You can add shape to them as well. So we've got the gold, the rose gold, and the silver. They make two necklaces, and they are £9.99. So basically £5 each for a necklace, which is a really good deal. So I'll show you how the gold one looks. In this, you're going to get your dyed jade beads, you're going to get your copper wire. It is coated in a colour, so this colour is gold, and it tends to be like a colour remain as well, so you'll find that the colour seems to last quite a long time on that. But because it's copper, it's nice and soft, it is malleable. I'm using it at 0.8, which is a 20 gauge wire. I'm using about 100 centimetres of this, so that turns out to be about 40 inches, just shy of 40 inches. I think I'll probably be using a little bit more today because I've just used what's left on my reel, so I might be a little bit longer. So you've got that copper wire, you've got your chain, your lobster clasp, and your jump rings as well. Now it makes two, so if you wanted, you could just make a much longer necklace. You don't have to add the chain in if you don't want to, but I think it sits quite nice like this. So you can see I'm just wrapping that wire around to create those lovely loops around the beads, and that kind of holds them into place, but it is just one long length of that 0.8 or 20 gauge wire. If you have a little look, you can see we've got the gold coloured wire for you. We've got those lovely mixed dyed, it's jade tourmaline. Okay, so they've got those tourmaline colours in there. So you've got blues, greens, pinks and oranges in your strand, and they're very, very, very pretty. I really like them, and they are 8mm in size. So the chain on this one is a figure-8 chain, so you can see the dimensions of the chain there. And I'm saying about if you want to make it adjustable, the lobster clasp fits really nicely into this loop here, so you can always adjust that length if you need to. I'm using about 20 centimeters on each side, which is 8 inches, I think. But again, you can use less of that or more of that if you want to. So that one is your gold colourway. So you'll get all the same beads in this kit. It's just the wire, the chain and your findings. This one I've kind of pulled down into kind of more of a point, so you can shape it if you want to find like a centre. You could also, if you wanted, play about with the order of the beads. So with this one, I've picked out more of the pink coloured beads, and you can see I'm using that rose gold wire, and I'm using the gold rose gold figure-8 chain for this one. On the silver, which is really, really lovely, I'm using the Rolo chain. I think it's Rolo. Yeah, Rolo chain. So you've still got lovely links in this, and it kind of echoes that shape that we've got going around there. But as I say, if you wanted to, you could play around with the colour of the beads. So you might want to put, your greens in the centre, and then kind of, I'm pointing at the screen like you can see my hand. So you might want to put, say, one colour in the centre on those three there, and then match them either side. But you will want to try and kind of lay out your beads if you are playing around with kind of a pattern of colour, just to make sure that you're going to be putting them on in the right order. I've put about 20 beads on this. As I say, you can really group them up close together, or you can space out those kind of curls of the wire. I've just put them in the order, so I'll show you them on the strand how they come, but I've mixed up. So I've done like a pink, orange, green, blue, pink, orange, green, blue, and I've done it that way along that particular design. So you're going to get the 0.8mm wire, which is 20 gauge wire in the silver, with the silver Rolo chain and findings. And again, you can see here how they come on the strand. They are grouped into colours. So you can play about with this design. You can do a few different things with it in terms of your colours and your placement, but they all work the same. Whichever kit you get, you're going to get enough to make 2 necklaces for £9.99. And don't forget, you can change your currency. We do ship worldwide, so if you want to, change that to where you need to, you can do. So I'm just going to have a quick scroll back up and see what I've missed. Teresa likes the name suggestion of Spiky. Rachel says, my favourite Beatrix Potter story was Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. Well, that's why I thought, there's probably a billion hedgehogs, isn't there, in the world that have been nicknamed Tiggy Winkle or something. But yeah, He's very cute. He was very much enjoying the cat food anyway. I'm not sure what else to feed them. I'd have to double check because there's obviously lots of myths and things about what you should feed them. And I know they are prone to fleas. So I'd say he won't be in the house. I'll just look at him from afar. I'm still saying he, so I think it's going to be a boy. If anyone knows how to gender a hedgehog without having to pick it up, then do let me know. Good morning. Oh, that's so cute. Elaine says maybe call the hedgehog Hogwart. Camille says she loves the dye. Jade, good morning to Kath. Good morning to Lisa, who says this is lovely. Mina's saying good morning. Debbie's in all the way from Melbourne in Australia. So good morning or good evening to you. Sally's in as well. She's showing me a lovely cat. Sally, I've got cat food in. Marcia is in from a cloudy Germany. Good morning to you, Marcia. Guten Morgen. Good morning to Elaine, who's on holiday in Glastonbury at the moment. Loads of gemstones and crystals here, she says. Yes, there is. There is. Have lots of fun, Elaine. Yeah, Jan says cat food's okay to give the hedgehog. Thank you. And good morning to Felix Creations. Hello, my lovely. I hope you're well. I keep getting pop-ups if I'm doing this. I'm stupidly trying to look around to see the comments. So this is the necklace that I'm wearing in the gold colourway. I'll put it down on the mat so you can see. And Phoenix says she's got gorgeous sunshine here in Glenrothes. We haven't got any sunshine here. So on the mat, here we go. Oh, there you go, a little bit more focus. That's nice. Let me take this necklace off and I will show you the gold colourway. So in terms of your bead placement, you can do whatever you want with this. This is the silver. It's got a lovely shape to it, and you can kind of curve it. If you want to kind of point it more, you can do. If you use an odd number of beads, you kind of get like a centre point. So I've used more of the pinks on the rosy coloured one. That is your chain in the rose gold. This is your chain in the yellow gold. So you've got that kind of Figaro, which has the smaller loops in the centre and large ones at the end. You can also, if you want, attach the chain directly to your loop on the necklace, or you can add a jump ring to it if you prefer. This one is the Rolo chain on the silver. So again, nice large links. You can attach that 12mm lobster clasp through there as well if you want to. So it is slightly adjustable. So it's your silver. Oh, I've got it tangled up. Silly me. You've got your silver, your gold. Again, I've kind of pointed the gold a little bit more, but you can play around with the bead colour too if you want to. So they're your three options today. And do check out the website if you do want to have a little look, how this might look in, different coloured gemstones or any other bead you want. So when you get your strand, it's going to come like this. So you can see you've got your greens, your blues, your pinks, your oranges, and it's got that repetition. So if you wanted, you could place them on in that order. You could group your colour. What I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of cherry pick them out. So I'm going to go for this order, I think, and I'm going to want to put them on in that order. So I'm just going to lay them out really for myself to pick up, and hopefully I remember what order they're going in. So I want about 20 beads for this length. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'll bunch them up together. It's just so I know when I pick them up, but they'll probably roll all over the place and I'll have to remind myself what I'm doing anyway. So I'll just pop them at the top of the screen, just for my own reference. And again, you can add more or less in if you want to. I don't know what number I'm up to, so I'll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, bear with me, 17, 18, 19, finish on a blue one for 20. So I'm just laying them out. You can see they're really sweet beads. They are 8mm with a large drill hole in the middle there, and they're coloured. So you've got a really nice mix, which I think do look like little candies. Thanks, Camille, counting along with me. Phoenix is saying, oh, I love the Rolo chain. Good morning to Sheila. Phoenix has also got a very large hedgehog. That is, is it trying to move in with you? Thanks, Sheila, says the makes look lovely. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wire. I'm taking 100 centimetres, which is 40 inches. This has just come off my reel, so it's probably a little bit longer than that. It might be a little bit tricky to get it all under the camera. So I'm just kind of straightening it out. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring those two ends together. So they're the two ends of my wire, one length of wire, and I'm just going to bend it a little bit just to find the centre. This is going to make my first loop to which I attach the chain on. So I'm just going to do this with my fingers, and then on either end of the wire, it doesn't matter whether you use it from the top or the bottom, I'm going to go from the top. I'm just going to add on my first bead. So I'm sliding that down towards that bend, but not right up into the bend on the wire. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lower wire, or the wire without the bead on, and I'm going to bring that around the back. So the wire always comes around the back first, just going to get the loop to the size that I want it to be. So the wire without the length of the wire without the bead on is going to come underneath. I am going to be smacking into all sorts of stuff on my desk here, so do bear with me. It gets easier, obviously, when you've not got the camera that you're working under, but also as it gets smaller. So this wire is going underneath the back, and then it's going to go around the bead, and then it's going to go over the top. So that's going to lock it in place. And I'm just bringing that wire around the bead. So that will be my first one. Now, the wire that's come around the bead that doesn't have the bead on is going to get the next bead. So we're going to alternate it. So the wire that doesn't have the bead on, that's just framed the bead that we've started with, is going to get the next bead on. So this time I'm going to go for that lovely green coloured one. And then the wire that is coming out of the first bead is going to go around the back. Again, place it how you want it. You can bunch these up close together, or you can spread it out a little bit. So it's going around the back, and then it's going to go over the top of the wire with the bead on to go and loop around the bead. So I'm not using any tools, I'm just using my fingers, but I'm just going to give that a little position so it looks like this. Okay, so again, the wire that's going around the bead is now going to get the next bead on. So this time I'm going to use the kind of orangey coloured one, and that's going to slide down. Put it in position, and I'm just holding it gently between my finger and my thumb, just to hold that spacing in place. The wire from before, which is coming out of the last bead, is going to go around the back, around the bead. I do apologise for not being fully in shot there. If you need to adjust it, you can do. It's going to lock around the bead coming in front of the wire here. So your wires are always going to kind of come back into that parallel position, running along this way. And by alternating which wire gets the bead on, we are just going to create this little shape that kind of goes up and down. So as I say, think about how you want them placed. If you want them placed really close together, or if you want to spread them out a little bit more, just be mindful of your placement, because what I did tend to find when I started doing these is I'd have them really close together at the beginning, and then they'd space out a lot more as I went. So we've now got the orange bead on, so I'm going to go for that lovely blue one, and that's going to go on the wire that comes around the bead. So the bead's always going to go on the wire that's gone around the last bead, and that wire will then sit straight, and then the other wire will come behind around the bead and over the top. And then you can just straighten these out again with your fingers, or if you want to with your tools. And I just give it a little push just to lock around the bead, because I want that wire to fully frame the bead. But it does go from behind and the front, so sometimes you just need to give it a little position. And you can see it comes together really quickly. I've used the 4 colours, so I'm going to go back to the first colour. So the wire coming around the bead is now going to get the pink one on. Phoenix says it reminds her of an abacus. I've got the wire coming from the bead on the last one. So the one that's running straight is going to go around the back. I know my fingers are in the way, but it's just so I'm trying to hold that bead in place. You can see there as it slightly moves. It's going around the back, around to frame the bead, and over the top. Bringing it all the way around the bead and back into that parallel position. So you can see I've got a little bit more space in here than I have there. If that's the case, you can just readjust. Quite like it about this much, because then you can see all of that bead. But you could get them wider as you go into the middle, and then closer again at the end if you want to play around with that. So the wire coming around the bead is now going to get the green one. So I'm just going to slide that onto the end here, position it where about I want it to be. The top wire is then going to go around the back, around the bead, all the way around the bead. Have a little look at the positioning. If you need to adjust it, hold it in place with your finger and thumb, bring that wire across the top of the bead, and that will lock that bead in place. You can see I can't really move those now. They're fixed in place. Each time you put the next bead on, it locks the last one into position. So the bead coming around, the wire going around the bead will get the next bead on. So we're going back to the top, and you can see we're kind of making this like little up and down kind of motion. Good morning, Emmeline. I hope you're well. Says, all beautiful. Camille's saying yellow. This isn't yellow, it's orange. I suppose it depends on the dye. That's orange, but it might be my light under the camera. Teresa says, going to do this when I get home. It looks fun. I've got some sewed light beads this would look good with. Oh, lovely. Do share it. I want to see it, Teresa, if you can. So again, positioning the bead where I want it to be. The wire that comes out straight from the last bead is going to go around the back, around the bead, and I'm just, bringing that round with my fingers. The wire's really nice and soft. I can get out any of those little kinks by just running it through my fingers. check I'm happy with the placement of it, and then on with the next. So after the orange comes the blue. It's going to go on to the wire that's coming around the bead, which is sitting at the bottom, parallel now. And I'm just going to keep repeating this around the back, around the bead, and up the top. It's really very, very straightforward when you start getting into that little rhythm. Again, if I need to reposition, got that a little bit closer than the last one. Don't think it matters too much. If I do want to adjust, I'm just going to bring that wire back around and slide the bead where I want it. But just holding the bead in place with my finger and my thumb will give that shape. And you don't need to put too much, tension on this. Just push that bead into that wire. Finish with the blue, so back onto the pink. Going now on the top wire, which always travels around the bead. Position where I want it to be. Hold it in place with my finger while I bring that wire around the back. Kind of swap hands, keeping it still in the same position. I'm framing around that bead and bringing it from the front to run parallel again. Anastasia's asking what size beads I'm using. I'm using an 8mm bead for these, just because they're lovely. You could probably, do this with a smaller. I think the 0.8 or 20 gauge wire is ideal for this as well, because it's strong enough to kind of hold that shape, but you've still got that ability to move it easily and comfortably with your hands and shape it as well at the end. So going around the bead. And obviously the closer that you position these beads, you'll find that, I might use more wire if I have them more spaced out, and it will create a different look. So if I put more beads on, then I'll obviously get a longer length, but I can compact that if I want to by positioning them up together. I mean, I've not measured it out, they're not exactly the same distance apart. Oh, I've just noticed putting it in this way is making all the blues and greens go at the bottom and all the pinks and oranges go at the top. I hadn't noticed that. Oh, well, there you go. That's fun as well, isn't it? How do you make it come to a point in the centre? I'll show you that at the end. It is just shaping it with your fingers. So I'm with the next bead, which will be the orangey one, or yellow if you're Camille. And then I'm positioning it with my hand, the wire from the bottom. I know I am covering it up with my finger and my thumb, but it's just to hold it in place. Hold it where I want it. The wire from the bottom is going to go around the back of the bead, around the bead, all the way around, and then it's going to come across the top, and that will lock the bead in place. And then those two wires will run parallel and straight. Reposition, give it a little roll if you wanted to make it a little bit closer. So now we've got the blue one, and that's going to go onto the bottom wire, so the wire that's gone always around the bead. And then this wire here moving around is going to lock that in place, because I could make that bead travel at the moment. The minute that wire comes around the back and over on the next bead, you'll see there's nowhere for that to go now, because it's locked in place. So pink going on the top, This is why I like to lay my beads out beforehand, just so I get the order of what I want to do. You can, of course, use all one colour and then, block it into the middle. Or if depending on the length that you want, you don't have to use 20 beads. You could pick out all of the green or just the greens and the oranges. So around the back. Position where about I want that next bead. It's going to come tight around the bead over the front. So the wire that goes around the bead will always have the next bead on, and then the wire that will go around the bead will always be the wire that's coming out of the last bead that's been placed. Hopefully that's making sense. So I'm going to slide my next bead onto the wire that's run around, which is currently sitting at the bottom. The wire coming out of the last bead on the top is going to go around the back, around the bead, over the top. Just run that wire as well through my fingers gently, just to get out any kind of kinks. So you can see I'm just making one straight line at the moment. It's not being shaped at this point. Hello to Zakia, who says, jolly good morning, Natalie and everyone. Brian's in as well, saying good morning, looks great, good day to everybody. Phoenix says this would work well with tumble beads. Working on getting my wet bench made so I can process bead finds. Have a load of red jasper to shape before tumbling, and bits to make beads as well. Oh, lovely. We've not really done any bead making. We've done beaded beads. But yeah, I'd like to do some, it's lapidary, isn't it, when you're kind of shaping your own gemstones and caps. So after the green, I'm going to go for the orange. That's going to go onto the top wire this time, because that's the wire coming out around the bead. The wire below is then going to go around the back, around the bead, and around the front. So it is a very quick make. I'm going nice and slowly, I hope, just to make sure that it's explained okay to you. But as I say, once you get into that repetition, look at the colour of that one. It will just become really easy to follow. Don't pull too hard on this wire when you're straightening it, because you want to make sure that it fully loops around the bead. Think around the back, around the bead, up over the front of that wire. So it's going over the front bit of this wire here. And then just pushing with my finger just to get that wire to fully go around. Back to the green. Behind, around, and around the front. So I'm coming to the end of my beads now. I did have a little bit extra wire, just because, as I say, I just took it off the reel. I didn't measure it, but usually I would use about 100 centimetres, which is about 40 inches. If I think I want to make that a little bit closer, just going to move it. I can still adjust and move until I put that next bead on. Tempted to make this a little bit larger, just because I've got the extra wire. How many beads have I got there? So I have got my 20 beads on, so I can use it and then shape it. And I think it probably would be the right size. You could as well, if you wanted, keeping it flat without shaping it, make this into a bracelet if you wanted to. Zaki is saying, what gauge wire are you creating with? This is a 0.8mm wire, which is 20 gauge. Yeah, I think the same, Camille. I'm just going to finish it off with the pink so it matches the starting colour. I was thinking that. So, great minds. So adding on my last bead, I'm going to add my bead onto the wire that comes around the top. The other wire is going to go behind this one. Around the bead and over the top. So when I'm going to finish it off, I want it to kind of finish like it starts. So what I'm going to do is I can flip this over and I can cut it here. But what I think I am going to do is just travel that wire a tiny little bit more around that bead. And where this comes out of the top, I'm just going to hold it with my finger and bend it around here. So just bend that wire around. I'm going to flip it to the back. And then with my cutters, I'm not going to do lots of like wrapped loops. I'm just going to cut a tiny little bit. This is the first time I'm really needing any tools. And I'm just going to come in with a pair of chain nose or needle nose or whatever you want to do. I'll use my chain nose just so you can see you don't need any specialist tools. And I'm just going to take that little wire and I'm just flattening, pinching it around, just to pinch that in. I might actually give it a little extra squeeze. And I just want to make sure that there's no sharp edges, so I'll just run my finger over it. So you can see now I've locked those beads into place. So the wire is going to go around the bead and just lock into the back there. And now I'm just going to create a similar sized loop to the loop that I've started with here. So I'm just going to bring it around. In fact, I think I'm going to bring it around this way. And I want to make sure it's similar size. So I'm just going to have a little position of that. And I think they're roughly the same. You can, if you want, use your tools in this bit, but I didn't use any tools for that. So I'm just using my fingers to get like a similar shape. And that's a little bit flat. So I'm actually going to just straighten it out a little bit. So I'm just going to curve it around. Curve it around the back. And just give it a little eyeball to check they're about the same. Fairly similar shape and size on each side. I'm then going to take the wire that comes around the back and just attach that wherever I want. So I can bring it round the front again here and just attach it to itself. So it's kind of making a little bit of a wrapped loop, but it looks fairly similar to how it starts. If you wanted, you could attach it onto the back here, going across, and then you wouldn't see that wrap at all, but I don't think it really makes that much of a difference. So just do whatever's easier for you to attach that loop on. I'm then going to cut off any of the excess. And again, give it a little pinch in. Just watch that loop as you pinch it. Doesn't move too much. So obviously it is the same piece of wire. So as you position it, you can give it a little misshapen if you're not too careful. Again, just run your finger over it and check that it's nice and smooth and it's locked in place. So you're left with this. Phoenix is saying it would make a lovely choker. Zaki is saying their name means pure and intelligent lady. That's lovely, isn't it? With the big hole beads, you can take the loop tail through the bead to make the same finish to the start. No, I don't think so, because you've got a large drill hole, yeah, but you're not going to get 2 lengths of 0.8 through that. You might do. I just think you're going to misshapen it. So I just wrap mine like that. If you wanted though, as I say, you could bring it round and you could lock it onto the back there and then you wouldn't see it. But I think it serves its purpose as long as it's locked in place. So you've got this shape. So all I need to do now is just attach my chain to it. So if I want to add a little bit of shape, someone before was asking how you get that point in it or that curve. It's just a case of gently from the middle start to bend it. So if you really wanted to make a particular point, I'd use the center one really and I'd bend it that way. And so if you wanted to make it into a proper point, you could just bend it like that, and then you've got that proper V shape. But you can see how malleable this wire is. You can reshape it how you want. I think I want the kind of just gentle curve in it with those pink and peachy ones at the top. What I also like to do is I like to just go around the bead and just check that the wire, so you can see there it's pushed back a little bit. I just give it a little kind of position again if I need to, just to make sure that the beads are all sitting how I want them to be. If I need to kind of readjust, I can give it a slight move and just push that wire into place around the beads if I need to. So I've got whatever curve or point that I'm working with, that I'm happy with, and now it's just a case of attaching the chain. So with the gold and the rose, you've got the Figaro chain, which is like this. With the silver, you've got the Rolo chain. Let me just pick that up to show you, which is in your kit. So of course this is making 2 necklaces. If you want to, you could just make this much, much longer. It's still exactly the same. You're just adding more wire and more beads on. So that is your Rolo chain. So for the Figaro chain, I am going to cut 2 lengths at about 20 centimeters, which is about 8 inches. But you can adjust that however you want. So I'm just going to position it against my ruler. If you've got 40 centimeters of chain all attached and ready to go, then you're just kind of splitting it in half. The only thing I kind of like to do when I am measuring my chain is just, if I'm using the Figaro chain, I like to make sure that they're the same on each side. So what I mean by that is this length will match the next length I cut in terms of the links. So if I'm attaching one piece of chain from this end and I'm starting with the smaller links, I want to make sure that the smaller links are on this side as well, not that larger one in the middle. So all I'm going to do when I've got the length of the chain that I want is I'm just going to open this like a jump ring. You'll find the Rolo chain is the same. It's not kind of soldered. You've got that opening ability. So I'm just opening that link up there like a jump ring so I can slide it off. And then again, I'm going to measure 20 centimeters or however long I want. Just get that back into position. Got a little bit of a twist in it there. So again, I'll measure them so they're roughly the same. So you can use whatever link you want. What you might want to do is when you're opening up your links, you can attach that directly onto the loop if you want to. Just make sure you close it fully, properly, that link afterwards. If not, you can attach it onto your jump ring. So I'm just going to take 2 pairs of pliers. I'm going to give it a little twist towards me, like I'm opening a door, just for a few millimeters really, and then I can attach through the link, that loop I've created, and the link on the chain before closing it up. Don't forget, always open your jump rings towards you or away from you, and then to close you're just going to do the reverse of what you've done. So for me, I like to turn it towards me, and then to close I turn away. If you open it by turning it away, you're just bringing it back towards you, but I'm always opening it like this, never like that, because I don't want to distort the shape of my jump ring, and I don't want to affect the integrity and the strength on it, because obviously that little join there, if I was to keep wiggling and wiggling and wiggling, it would eventually weaken it slightly. So I'm just sliding the jump ring if you want to attach the jump ring on. As I say, it's not a necessity. You can just directly pop it through, depending on the size of the loops that you've created. They're usually very much large enough to get that through. The jump rings I'm using here, measurement wise, it's outer diameter 6 by 1, so that's 6 millimeters in size and 1 millimeter, which is 18 gauge in thickness, and they just match, I think, that chain, the links on both of the chains very nicely. And now it's just a case of adding on my extra jump rings. I seem to have missed, there it is, hiding. My extra jump rings and my lobster clasp onto the end. So really straightforward, opening up that jump ring, sliding it on and closing it up. And then the same on the other side, only I'm adding in that lobster clasp, which you'll also get if you buy this kit from Totally Beads, which is 12 millimeters in size. So I'm just going to add that onto the jump ring before I close it up. And my necklace is now ready to wear and ready to go. So it will just open up. And what I mean by just making sure that I've got the same links, so it looks balanced. I'm not starting from that kind of Figaro link there and that larger one. But if I am starting with the larger one, I start from the larger one on this side as well. So that's it, really straightforward, really pretty, gorgeous colours. You get to choose from 3 colourways in this. The Candice necklace comes with enough to make 2 necklaces. You're going to get this gorgeous dyed jade in each of your kits. You can choose from a rose gold, a silver, or the gold, which is the one that I've made here. They're really lovely. They are 8 millimeters in size in terms of the beads. The wire I'm using is a 0.8 or 20 gauge wire. I've used about 100 centimeters of the wire, which is about 40 inches, and I've used 40 centimeters of the chain. But if you want to make that adjustable, you'll find that you can just attach that onto one of the larger links, and then you've got that kind of little extender chain look as well. So that was that, and I hope you liked it. Let's see what we've missed. So Jan says, thank you for this lovely make. You're very, very welcome, Jan. Thank you for being with me. Emmeline says, thanks, Natalie. Lovely project. She's going to try it. Lisa says, definitely going to be having a go at this. That's gorgeous. Rachel says, love it as well. Camille says, very pretty. Thank you, and have a nice week. See you next Monday. So thank you for being with me. I am going to be back on Monday. I think I'm doing earrings with you on Monday. I've named them Helter Skelter because they're a little bit different, really straightforward. So a little while ago I was doing the kind of coiled beads with you, and I thought, wonder if we could do a variation on that theme, only this time you don't need a knitting needle or any kind of dowel. I'm just using a pencil to shape them, and they're really pretty and very sparkly, and you can again change them up to whatever size and things that you like. So if you're able to come and join me on Monday, I'll be here at 10 a.m. UK time. Until then, I hope you all have a really lovely rest of the week, and I hope you have a lovely